Manager for Crisis at Christmas London, in case you don't know me or haven't met me before. This is our housekeeping slide. After this slide, we're going to record the session. So if you prefer not to be recorded, please feel free to turn your camera off. Try and keep yourself muted. We've already heard some noise, so it's a little bit distracting. Please pop any questions in the chat while we're going through the presentations. We'll get around to answering them, and we'll find some time at the end as well. And then when we're finished, we'll send you off into your AM, PM and night shift breakout rooms. Temi very kindly sent out another email today with a separate link. We've had absolute technological nightmares trying to get people into breakout rooms. So we've given up on those, and you can just leave this meeting and pop off into the other link for your breakouts, which means we won't be in them. You can stay there as long as you like and have a good old catch up. So Temi, do you want to press record and we'll do the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. We've got a really packed agenda. I'm not going to read through it all because you can probably all read, but I'm absolutely delighted to see Francesca again this evening, who's going to give us a quick update on what's happening in crisis in terms of policies and campaigns. We had quite a big day yesterday, so I'm sure she's got lots to tell you.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, so welcome everybody. I'm Francesca, and I'm the Director of Policy and Social Change at Crisis. And I do recognise people on the call. I did quite a bit of volunteering actually at Aldgate last year. So just to say thank you again for everybody's huge amount of time that goes into that. And I know that there's going to be so much going on over the next month or so. So yeah, I'm going to give a bit of an overview of homelessness, and then I will talk a bit more about our campaigning work with a bit of excitement from yesterday, because I feel like there was a very live example of how we actually use our work that we do at Christmas to directly influence politicians. So many of you will be aware in terms of what what you know around homelessness, and also thinking about what trends we've seen over the last couple of years in terms of people coming to our services, is that homelessness in all its forms is going up. So in London we're seeing particularly high levels of rough sleeping, and that is going up. Well, the last chain statistics which are collected by the GLA showed that there was nearly 5,000 people sleeping rough in London, and I think one of the worrying trends is that living on the streets group, which is the more entrenched rough sleepers, is going up. And I know that will obviously be people that you particularly are familiar with in terms of the support that we provide over Christmas and through to the extension hotel, and this is a consequence of lots of different things, but it is particularly acute in London because of rent increases, the housing market. And we've also in a situation where a lot of local authorities are not opening face-to-face services, and that is having a massive impact on our year-round offer as well. So a lot of people across our skylights are doing a lot more advocacy work, and I'm sure that will also come through in terms of some of the support and advice that we're also providing over Christmas. The other thing to say is that we know that local authorities are very, very stretched, and a lot of that is also down to the amount of money that's being spent on temporary accommodation. So because we don't have huge amounts of the private rented sector, and we still don't have any social housing, we know that temporary accommodation is being used more and more, particularly in London. So in London at the moment, about £4 million a day is being spent on temporary accommodation, and across England that figure was 2.3 billion over the last 12 months. So it's huge, and so that's having a direct impact in terms of people aren't able to move out of homelessness, as well as people coming back in to the system, and obviously us doing as much as we can in terms of trying to find accommodation for people, to move people out of hotels and move people into more stable situations. But I know it's extremely challenging. A bit just very quickly on something that is a little bit more positive. So yes, we do have rising need, and you'll be very aware of that. But there has been a lot of activity in the last few months on homelessness. So we've had a change in government. And Crisis did a lot of campaigning around the general election, and we were able to secure a manifesto commitment around getting Britain back on track to tackling all forms of homelessness. And so that is now a kind of the manifesto commitment is now a reality for this government. And so the next kind of year, but particularly in the next few months, there is a lot of work going on to try and turn that into a reality in terms of a cross-government strategy. And we and lots of other kind of partners across the sector, including St Mungo's, are really trying to kind of support that. And then what happened yesterday was we got a kind of request quite last minute to accommodate Sadiq Khan, Angela Rayner and Rushan Ali, who is the homelessness minister, alongside a couple of other politicians to visit the warehouse. The Christmas team were absolutely amazing and accommodated us and quite a large group of people to deliver that visit. But what was really powerful with that is we were able to talk directly about what outcomes we achieve at Christmas through our service, and that is all down to you. And we know that that's it was such a tangible thing to be able to talk about, and then how we link that back into our kind of year-round services as well. And also we had 3 people with lived experience of homelessness who very bravely talked about their own experiences, and that they were so brave, including a previous someone who is a volunteer and is now able to talk really strongly about kind of their experience of homelessness, but also what they do now and what they have done over a number of years in terms of Crisis at Christmas. And I think that was, for me, there's what really kind of struck a chord with politicians, and we were able to illustrate very directly why we need to act now, why it's so urgent, and what can happen when you have solutions and you are able to help people really with one-to-one support, which is what we do day in, day out, and what we specifically do at Christmas as well. So I'll leave it there. I've got I know last time there was a couple of questions, so if anyone's got anything very quickly, I'm happy to take it, but I know you've got a packed agenda.
No questions. Brilliant. All right. Thanks for joining us, Francesca.
It's okay. Again, I'm going to jump off because I'm in Universal House and I don't know when it's going to shut. But I'll hopefully see a lot of you soon in person. So thank you again.
See you. Have a nice evening.
You.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we've got Elijah and John on the call, I think, who are going to talk to you a bit about collecting guest stories while the hotel is open. Are you both here tonight?
Hi. I'm here. Yep.
Hiya.
I'll be talking. I think Elida's. Yeah, thanks, Elida. My name's John Conroy. I'm the Christmas Stories officer, and I'm part of the Stories team, which is Elida and Emma as well. And I think you'll probably be seeing their faces too, but mostly you'll be seeing this mush over Christmas and at the Corner Hotel. What we're going to try and do, what our goal is at the Corner Hotel, is to establish relationship with guests, members and volunteers to gather stories. And the story could be anything. It could be a poem, could be a photograph. It could at that stage just be a story lead. Might be someone just showing their willingness to share their story of their lived experience of homelessness, and a contact, which we will follow up in the new year. These stories are critical, I think, as Francesca's just made clear. The lived experience, the authentic voice of someone who's homeless, is absolutely critical and underpins all of Crisis's work, from marketing, fundraising, policy, and educating the public of the reality of homelessness. Facts and stats navigate everything we do, it's true, but that real voice makes those stats come alive and really do move people. and they move people to donate, and they move politicians to change. So that's why they're incredibly important. I was at the carol service at Southwark Cathedral on Saturday, and the highlights for everybody were when members stood up bravely and told their stories, and often very, very politically and sometimes very personally, what they wanted to see change. Now, members or guests will be their safeguarding, and their consent for their stories is at the heart of everything we do. I just want to make that very clear. We're not just going to rock up and start recording anything. We follow procedures which make sure that guests give total consent, and it goes at their pace, which is why I said that for many people, just giving us their contact details will be enough. Now, where you come in is that we will depend on you. We can be there, we can stand there and sit there, but to be honest, your relationship with the people, with the guests, with the members and your volunteers will be critical for us to really be effective in gathering stories. And where you want us to be, actually introducing us, involving us in activities, anything and everything that you think will make the difference on the day. This is our moment to meet a huge quantity of people and start to gather those stories, which we will develop throughout the year. And these stories raise a huge amount of money, which all our work depends upon, and can really change how people see homelessness. So we will depend on you. I don't know if Elijah's got anything else to add to that, but yesterday when I spoke to the Chorus Hotel volunteer leads, they made some great points and offered some advice on what we should do. So if anyone's got anything they'd like to add on advice, welcome it.
No questions tonight.
Okay.
If anyone thinks of anything, you know where I am. You can email me and I can pass it on to John. Otherwise, we'll see you in the hotel, John.
Okay, and these are the dates. They're on the slide, just so everybody can see.
Brilliant.
That's when we're going to be there. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Hi. I'm going to go first before everybody else. So I'm here to talk about IT once again. And the first on my list is Crisis account. So this is the 4th year we have been using Microsoft 365 as a collaboration platform. So we've got Microsoft Teams and our wiki that I'm excited to show you in just a little bit, and all the other goodies that we have. And we give everybody that is on the senior volunteering team, which is basically everybody in this call, a Crisis account. So especially for the new key volunteers joining us this year, do make sure that you have already set up your account before your first shift. So the activation email should have gone out to everybody in this call now. But if you have not received yours, do check your spam mailbox just in case. Or if you can't find it still, please email IT support. We've got the link on the bottom of the slide. Do practice getting into your account and trying to navigate through Teams and the wiki before you come on to shift, so that you are more prepared on the day. And a good tip is to try incognito or private browsing mode, so that you know what you're doing with a brand new system, for example, so that you can log in more easily. The fact is, the later you leave it, the less likely the IT support team, which is my team, can get to you, because many people will be trying to get into the accounts on the same day as you. So please try to contact us earlier if you have issues, or else we might not be able to get to you in good time. And also, one important thing to remember, you will need your mobile phone on your person for MFA, so that we can prevent unauthorized access. So do remember to bring your phone with you on your person during your shift, but of course, respect the rules of volunteering. Don't use it to doom scroll Twitter, for example. And if you need IT support, including how to reach our volunteer-run IT help desk, you can go to support.crisis.christmas. Next slide, please. Wikimas. So we have had the wiki system for about 2 years now, but this year we have really tried to put basically anything that you might need into the wiki. So things like activity schedule, what's on, signposting, ship office menu, and basically everything that you might need during your ship into Wikimus. And you can go there now today at wiki.crisis.christmas. If you see a login screen, click on SSO login and then use your crisis.christmas email. Remember, don't try to sign up for Coda on a personal email. You need to use your crisis.christmas email. So also on the day, if you're using Microsoft Teams, you can get to Wikimus by going to the Crisis at Christmas 2024 team, which is on the screenshot on the slide. So the general channel, and then there will be a tab called Wikimus. And you can use the search functionality. It works quite well, but sometimes you may need to give it some synonyms. So for example, if you want to try search for translations, you may need to use the word translate, for example. But otherwise, it's usually quite good. It has everything that you will need to know to for your role and function. So please do make sure to give it a read before your first shift, so you'll be more prepared. Next slide, please. This year, we're also trialing a new thing. So Wikimedia has got a lot of good information, but you do need a Crisis account to get into it, which is why this year we are trialing putting a limited subset of the information from Wikimedia into center public page. So for Aldgate, the public webpage is aldgate.crisis.christmas, and this is available for all the general volunteers that doesn't have a Crisis account, and is also suitable for guests as well. So everything in that page is public, shareable. Please spread the word. There's no sensitive details like hotel addresses on there, so you can just give the link to anybody and it will be fine. It has got information on food services when we are doing a breakfast, lunch, dinner, for example. What is on for each day, local services, signposting, house rules, feedback forms, policies and procedures, and basically anything that the guests might want to review online. So that is aldgate.crisis.christmas. Also have a look if you have time, and be sure to spread the word. And we would very much love your feedback on how well this worked for you. All right, I think that is me.
Cheers, Tim. Thank you. Cool. So I'm just going to give a little bit of an intro to what the extension, as we call it, even though we plan to do it every year, what the guest profile looks like this year. We've got Nick from the Christmas Case Management team, who's going to give a bit of an intro about what they're going to be doing. And I'll also have a chat about what the St. Mungo's teams look like this year for you guys. But broadly speaking, you know, it's very similar to particularly last year, in that the focus is on guests who have been rough sleeping for quite a long time. And all of this information is kind of pulled off chain into a chain cohort. They're then referred in, risk assessed, etc., etc. So basically, you know, broadly speaking, what we're trying to do is get people who have been on the streets for at least 6 months, have had no accommodation stays before, and have been seen bedded down at least 2 of the last 6 months. So it's basically looking at those people who you see on the streets every day, and for some reason outreach haven't been able to get them off the streets. Where we are being a bit more flexible this year, because I think one of the things we did find last year is that there were a lot of gaps at Docklands. We're going to be taking in quite a few sort of nominations from outreach this year. So it's people that are sort of, like, broadly speaking, very similar to the chain cohort, but like maybe they've only been rough sleeping for 4 or 5 months. Maybe they have had one accommodation stay for SWEP or something like that. So what we've found this year, we've had 1,500 referrals, as I'm sure Katie will chat about in a little bit. So 1,500 referrals for the 575 beds. And we're roughly looking at around sort of 400 that might be eligible for Aldgate. a lot of these clients, again, will have safety and risk assessed them. So that 400 will probably have come down a little bit further to maybe 350, 340, something like that. So yeah, we think we've got a very good chance of filling the beds this year quite quickly. And as I'll chat about in a little bit, I think one of the different things this year is that we've got 3 distinct caseworker teams on site. And Maz, if you can go to the next slide, I'll hand it to Nick in a sec. But just to introduce them, and I'll chat more about the 2 St Mungo's teams in a little bit because they couldn't have people here tonight. But so we've got our Christmas case management team that Nick will chat about in a sec, the St Mungo's No Second Night Out team, and the London Navigator team as well. So it's going to be busy with caseworkers. But yeah, I'll shut up and just hand it to Nick, who's the Christmas case management team manager, to introduce what their team does. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks very much, Johnny. And hi, everyone. Good to see some familiar faces and meet everyone else. Yeah, so my name's Nick. I am the manager of the Christmas case management team. So we are the crisis casework team on site. I think we're the only one that's going to be at Aldgate, except maybe some outreach, some other stuff coming in now and again. Yeah, I have a team of 6 caseworkers, myself, a team leader and administrator. And we also have a 1-day-a-week psychiatrist who's going to come and join for a few shifts. So basically what we do is we work with people to find them accommodation and also to kind of find some other resolutions to things they might need, help them with signing up to bank accounts, health needs, lots of referrals essentially. We're typically working with people who are longer term rough sleepers, maybe have had dissatisfactory experiences working with other teams, or they, for whatever reason, they've not felt supported. They have they have engagement issues, I suppose, which I don't really like using that phrase, but you know, they have things going on in their lives and this isn't always a priority. So we're really experienced in working with those people, trying to help them as much as we can. We have really low engagement expectations in that, you know, sometimes we might not see people for 2 months when we're working throughout the year, but we'll keep reaching out to them, keep offering anything they may need. Yeah, so we have a good experience working with this cohort. We'll be trying over the course of this month to find them appropriate accommodation wherever that is possible, primarily, so they don't return to rough sleeping. We're going to be working with the local authorities. We have links to all the local authorities, their housing options teams for people that they might be able to take, various supported accommodation providers, some private rented sector accommodation providers. So we've got lots of options. I think a key thing is that we will provide them support for the following year, should they need it, and we'll also potentially provide it further should they be in a circumstance where they're still working with us and they need that. So we are basically a caseworker for as long as they need them. It is, you know, the more they work with us, the more they get out of it though. So I guess it is worth saying that there's definitely not a guarantee of accommodation come the end of the extension hotel for everyone. So I guess we just want to make sure we're managing those expectations. But yeah, from your perspective, the more you can encourage them to come and work with my team, the easier that becomes ultimately, and the less likely that the more we can prevent that from happening. But that's basically us in a nutshell. We'll be working down on the ground floor in one of the big rooms, so come and say hi to us or ask us if you need anything, or you want to signpost a member to us. We'll actually be working with the other 2 teams in that same office, so it should be really easy just to send them our way and we'll work out who's working with them. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, that's us. If I'll pass back to Johnny to discuss the other 2 teams, and I'll stick around in case there's any questions after this section as well.
Lovely. Yeah, thank you, Nick. I'll just run through the other 2 teams and then we'll open it up very quickly to see if there's any questions for Nick or me on any of this, and we'll whiz through it. Yeah, so I think this is brilliant. This is, you know, like you guys have all seen the Christmas case management team before. We are also working with the St Mungo's No Second Night Out team. So the key thing here is that this is exactly the same team that we've worked with for the last 3 years in extension. They're managed by Laura, who did it last year. So some of you guys might remember Laura. She's absolutely fabulous. She's well on board for it this year. She's got a team of, I think, 8 people. So 6 assessment and reconnection workers and 2 team leaders with her. So yeah, big team from St Mungo's. They're doing very similar stuff to Nick. And, you know, it's going to be very focused on sort of quick assessments, trying to get people in after Christmas. Yeah, so the other one then I want to flag, and this is slightly different, and I think one of the things I want to stress here is just an ask to be a bit patient with us on this. So there's a team run by St Mungo's called the London Navigators, and these guys work all across London, very similar to Nick's team, but they work with people that are some of the hardest to reach, highest support needs to some extent as well, people in London. So we are really going for like the hardest to get in clients in London, and they have got 28 beds to use in this period at the hotel. They put in all their referrals to us, but one of the things to understand with this client group is that they come and go and disappear for weeks, reappear, and they're like, oh yeah, I will have that referral. So we have spoken to Layla. So it's Layla Grinberger, who's the manager. She is lovely. She'll introduce herself on the first day to you guys as well. But yeah, we've agreed with them that basically, because of the nature of this client group, we've processed the referrals. We've made sure people are safe to come in, but we will hold these beds for a little bit longer. So instead of giving these guys sort of 24 hours to come in when we're like, bang, no, someone else, these guys are going to get a little bit longer. We've not kind of set a time limit on it. We're going to work, like myself and Katie are going to work with Layla's team to work out who's likely to come in if they pop up. But one of the things that they've said to us is that, and it's very much kudos to you guys, is that some of these clients will disappear for 3 or 4 months, turn up in November and be like, oh, I want to come to Crisis at Christmas. And that is why we are doing this. So please be patient with us. You know, I'm not anticipating 28 empty beds at all. But what I am anticipating is potentially maybe 10, 15 beds that remain empty with people assigned to them for the first week or so. We will be doing everything we can to work with Layla and her team to get these guys in. And, you know, there are contingency plans right down to Plan Z with this to get people who might just pitch up on the 2nd of January to maybe get them in as well. So, yeah, if you see some empty beds, please, like, just be patient with us. We're well aware of it. It will not be on the same scale as last year. You know, we've got 150 clients that Nick's team and Laura's team, the St Mungo's team, will work with. There will be a quicker turnaround with those. You know, we will aim to have 150 of those beds full by Christmas Eve, probably. But yeah, so just bear with us on the Navigator thing. And like I say, you know, I think this is it's a really incredible offer this year. We've got so as we look, if you walk into Aldgate, if you've been there before, the boardroom and the 2 meeting rooms either side of that as you go in, I'm sure if you've done the walk around, you'll see, is sort of caseworker space during the day. So Nick's team, Laura's team, and Layla's team will all be working from there. On 4 days, we've also got them at extra space at the Whitechapel Gallery. So hopefully when things are really busy, all of these guys can go over to Whitechapel Gallery as they need and take some clients over there as well. But I think the most impressive thing about this is, as you can see, we've got 177 beds, and in theory, 177 clients come in and they all have a caseworker assigned to them with a view to getting them a move on after Christmas. As Nick said, it will not be perfect. There will still be some people who go back to the streets, but you know, the intent is there to try and get something for everyone, really. But yeah, enough of me. I will shut up. If there's any questions about the casework, guys, or anything for Nick in particular, just give us a shout now. If not, I'll hand to Katie. But yeah, thank you. Paul, should we go to Hong briefly before we hand to Katie? Hong, you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Right. Yeah,
Sorry.
that will help. I was trying to take myself off camera as well, and that's not working either. So the 28 people, are they going to be flagged in C-Log?
Yeah, I should have said
Yeah.
that. Go on, Katie, you take it from here.
Yeah, I was actually going to, before I did the next slide, just say, like, we've got a field on C-Log that is kind of going to select whether a guest is with Nick or a guest is with St Mungo's or Augustus with navigators. And Nick and the other managers will send me the list, and we'll just make sure that that's up to date on C-Log for you. So it should be quite simple after the first week, but in the first week there might still be some question marks and things that need switching over, and just bear with us. It's Crisis at Christmas, you know how it goes, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. As long as you let us know. And then I'm assuming for those 28 people, we need to give them longer before we empty their room if they've not been seen.
Yeah, that's right.
Will you let us know what that time period will be? I don't expect an answer now.
Yeah, I think if you're kind of getting 48 hours and you haven't found a guest, the best thing to do is to let me and Johnny know, and we can have that conversation with Layla about what she thinks going on with that client, and we can feed back to you about whether it's we want to turn the room over or not. But you know, she'll be on site, so you can also have that conversation with her, but do make sure that we're in the loop.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to jump in on that, Katie's bang on. I think like feel free to have all of this communication with the various teams, like particularly Layla's team. They will welcome it, and like if you haven't seen the client, they also need to know that. So yeah, your input is so valuable to them. So yeah, please do like come and chat to them all freely.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one more thing, which I think we forgot to put on the slides, but they're really keen to be involved with like whichever briefing overlaps with their shifts too. So we will send you their rota, and we're going to send them your green badge rota as well, so everyone knows who's on shift when, and link you all up by email. And we're going to give them like kind of a big welcome email. This is the shift office number, all of that. So when that happens, I think it's probably not for us to arrange those briefings, those check-ins, but do reach out to them on site and kind of work out what works best for your teams. Yeah. Cool. It's still me. So is there any more questions on casework teams? Dan.
Yeah, hi. I was just going to ask, will they be on our gate list, our door list, as it were?
Yeah, they should be. I've kind of put the rota up on Wikimess. I'm not quite sure how gate lists work, but yes, they will. Certainly. I'll find out who looks after that.
Okay, thanks.
Any more? Cool, thank you. Nick, feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening, unless you want to the rest of what's going on at Aldgate. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry for being unprofessional and not knowing about gate lists. Someone else will. That's why the team works so well. I'm just going to touch on check-in quickly. It's going to work pretty similar to how it has in the past, but it's always worth kind of just like updating a new model, right? So we've got some new Crisis at Christmas tablets because the old ones were a little bit sticky and slow. We hope they'll be faster and better and just make your life easier. I've not seen them, but I'm sure they will. We've got some SIM cards as backup in case the Wi-Fi, which will definitely work, doesn't work, but just in case, we've got these backup SIM cards. You know, we kind of got all these systems to make sure, because it's really, really important that guests do get checked in on C-Log. Anyone who attended Saturday's riveting C-Log training will know that we now have a feature where we're able to view a list of vacant rooms on the database and a list of occupied rooms as well, instead of them just being like on some spreadsheet somewhere. So do try and check guests in as live as possible. I know it's really busy, but hopefully the tablets will make that super easy. And Johnny and I can sit in the background and be like, okay, well, we've got 8 rooms empty without bringing shift office every single time we need to do that. So another bit of feedback we had from the case management team and some of the guests themselves is that it's quite typical when guests check into accommodation that they'll be given like a proper formal induction of the building, of the rules, of everything that goes on. And Crisis at Christmas, we don't tend to do that because it's very, very busy on the first night. But what is kind of happening, I think, is that we have this initial contact with a lot of guests and we miss out on sharing information that we really need them to know, and we kind of, it's assumed knowledge, and be kind of hearing from them. So we want to like introduce a little bit of like a mini induction. We know it's busy, we don't want you to take too long over this, but just a little checklist to run through with guests, either at the check-in desk or when volunteers are walking them to their room in small groups. Doesn't matter, manage it how it works for you, but just to make sure we're kind of giving them the respect of sharing the information that they do need to know, rather than it just being on a poster on the wall, for example. So I'm going to kind of jump into the middle of this checklist, which is here on the right, because I think crucially this came about, especially at Aldgate last year. There was lots of issues with guests smoking in their rooms, and really sadly that meant we had to evict them. Our contract with the hotel is that we are not going to be tolerating smoking in bedrooms. It's not fair. It's illegal to smoke indoors in the UK, even at Crisis at Christmas. So we want to make sure that this is said really explicitly to guests at the beginning of their kind of time with us, so that it's not a shock. We know stuff like this happens, you know, it's kind of typical, but we think just by reiterating it a little bit more and letting people know what the consequences might be, that is kind of respectful to them as well as respectful to the hotel as well. We will breach the contract and not get the hotel back again if we don't. Then back up to the top, just letting them know when security on the door from, that's not changed. Obviously they can come and go at times around that, but it will just be security overnight. We do have a new welfare check process, which I'm sure most of you are fully aware of. I know Jess will touch on it a little bit more later, but that's also at the point of entry really important to talk to them about how often they can expect an intervention from us if they're not seen. So do say, you know, if we don't see you for 2 days, we will be giving you a knock, unlocking your door to check you're still there, check you've not gone somewhere. So if you're thinking of going away for a day or for a night, let us know, because then we're not going to be invading your privacy because we know where you are. Point them in the direction of dinner. I mean, you do that anyway. Give them welcome packs, same again. And we've got lovely printouts of the services schedule this year. We don't have guest handbooks. We've just got like all of the things that are on and what day they're on. They're really simple. They're really clear. They're much easier for guests who don't have high literacy. It's just like super simple, can see what's on when. And finally, before they're shown to their room, I think it's quite a nice opportunity to ask guests if there's anything they want to make us aware of. I think that's quite an important part of an induction as well, to give them the chance to kind of say their bit. Even if it's like, or especially if it's like, please don't wake me up early, I will be furious about that. They might just say no, fine, whatever. But there will be a little place you can enter that information onto the check-in tablets, which would then get pulled through to C-Log. And guest welfare will see that. Anyone with C-Log access will see that too. We want to know that they want to do an art class, because that means that at some point when someone looks at their profile, they'll just check in that that's happened, things like that. So yeah, and I think obviously they're coming at 6 and you can start at whatever time it says on that slide, which I can't read for some reason. Yeah, next slide, please. Sweet. So this is just what it looks like on the check-in tablet. You've seen this before. There's not much new there. We've got dietary requirements over here on the right, guest phone number. They can update that if they want. It's also quite a good way of finding out if they have a phone, so that they're not asking for 28 more. And then down at the bottom, you'll see information for hotel volunteers. We will populate this with info that we know. So like if there's a couple, if there's a wheelchair user, for example. But this is also where you can add those additional bits of information if a guest tells you anything at check-in. This all gets pulled through to their main C-Log profile, so do pop anything in there. Next slide, please. So yeah, to touch on couples, we are having couples sharing rooms, again, if we think it's safe to do so. So we risk assess everyone coming into the hotel, and we risk assess couples as a couple as well. That's part of the process. So there will be plenty of couples who will be sharing a room during Crisis at Christmas. However, there will be some who are coming in together, but we have some safety concerns over that, and we will be allocating them 2 separate rooms. we can't force that they use those rooms. They are adults, they can do what they want with their time, but we must honour that space for them, even if it feels frustrating to have what appears to be an empty room. We want guests to know that that space is available at any time, even if it's for 20 minutes in the day, just to cool off, have some space, lock a door. And so we do ask that you keep them, please, because there will be a good reason why they have been allocated. Fun little thing, if like two people are in a couple and one of them checks in before the other, because that's the nature of queues, when the second one of them checks in, their room will be pre-populated. This is if they're sharing a room. So that's quite fun. And yeah, we'll let you know who the couples are in the info box on C-Log, and I might even put it in their names just to make it super obvious if I have time, but we'll see. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the waiting list, Johnny touched on this with the Navigator clients who are operating a bit differently. All of the other guests in the hotel, we will be sending chasers to the following morning, so like 12 hours after check-in time. Like I said yesterday, it won't be 12 hours because that's 6 a.m. and I will not be awake, but it will be first thing on the morning of the 23rd. I'll send a reminder to everyone. If we don't hear back from guests and referrers by 6 p.m. that on the 23rd, we will be releasing those bed spaces, possibly a touch earlier to give people time in their working day to receive that email from me and ring their clients and get them to come to Crisis at Christmas. If we receive communication that's like, oh, the guest is coming, he's coming at 10, he can't get there for 6, that's fine, we hold the bed. It's not like a hard and fast rule, but we just want to know that people are coming to fill the rooms. And as last year, that awaiting check-in list will just be updated automatically for you. So what you see on your check-in tablets will be the list of people who can come in. I think that's me done. I don't know what's next. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Fab, I think I'm jumping in here. Hi everyone. So just to touch on catering for this year. So here are the times on the screen. I think they're the same as what happened last year, so hopefully they're all in line with what you're expecting. It'll all be communal in the communal area again, so no guests taking meals to their rooms. Katie's already showed it on C-Log, which is fantastic. So at the point of check-in, we'll be asking guests for their dietary requirements or allergies. So there's lots of different options you can choose on C-Log, including a free text option for like allergies, I think. So once that's all there, you can kind of compile that list and take it to the kitchen. The chef at Aldgate's fantastic. So any questions about sort of dietary requirements, feel free to speak to him directly or get in touch with me if you need any assistance. There will be vegetarian options available at each meal. Yeah, so snacks and drinks are still always available through the snack bar and they can be taken to rooms. And I've mentioned at the bottom, it's not as relevant for Aldgate, but for the other 2 hotels where there have been concerns with catering in the past, we're asking them to sort of regularly submit photos of the meals, just so we can sort of monitor quality and standard across the project. It's less of a concern at Aldgate because I think the menu sounded fantastic and the food sounded great last year. But if at any point you do have any concerns about the food, feel free to also use that form. It's available on Wikimus and you just sort of submit a meal, a photo of the meal, or just get in touch with me directly, and then I can speak to the chef. Hopefully it won't happen, but the option is there because I think the other hotels might be having to use that. Fab, next slide, please. Great. So I think I wasn't there last year, but I heard it's a bit tricky for sort of room allocations for services. So we've got a bit of an improved system this year. So on the ground floor, there's 4 rooms that have been dedicated towards the use of services. So 2 of these rooms will be used for healthcare, dental, eye care and salon. So that will be sort of rotating depending on whatever service is in that day. One of the rooms will be constantly used for clothing. So that will just be the official clothing room. And then another of the rooms will be sort of a common area with a TV. It might be on 1 or 2 of the days the services have to steal that room, just if it's the day we've got a lot of services in, but we'll communicate that with you at the time. I think it's only ever 1 or 2 days. And it's already been touched on already, but the St. Mungo's and case management teams will take that sort of long conference room when you go into the right where the dining hall is. So that will be their dedicated space. There's plenty of room for them in there. But yeah, hopefully this should mean that we can run more services this year and have a greater offer for our guests. Next slide. Fab. I think this is an old one that snuck in. Can you go to the next one, Maz? Sorry. Very professional, fab. So this is this year's healthcare clinics. So the healthcare team will be coming 3 days to Aldgate this year, which is really great. So that's the doctors, nurses, pharmacists, podiatrists, and physiotherapists. So the full team will be coming as one. You can see the dates on the screen. And a reminder that for healthcare, the kit will get delivered at the beginning of each clinic and collected at the end of each clinic. So just sort of look out for those drivers. Eye care will be there twice. So the last few years, sometimes we had to send eye care guests to day centres for eye care clinics, but you've got your own dedicated clinics this year, which is fantastic. So that's the 30th and 31st of December. The kit will be set up in advance by our service organisers, but on that last day on the 31st, it'll get collected at the end, and then that room will be free for whatever service is next. And what's new this year is we're not running in-house ophthalmology. So the ophthalmologists are the ones who do their eye diseases and eye conditions. We have a new referral pathway straight into Moorfields Eye Hospital, which is really exciting. A really good offer for our guests in terms of that ongoing support, which we can't always offer. So it might be that eye care volunteers come to the shift office asking for transport to Moorfields. So just giving you a heads up for that. It should only ever happen once or twice. And the last one to mention is the ear care clinics. That's being offered through our partnership with Specsavers. They'll be there on the 31st of December. And they do general ear health checks and wax removal, I believe. And the kit for that will get delivered and collected the same day, so it shouldn't take up too much space. Next slide. And then here's a list of all the external ones we have coming in. It's quite busy, but that's a good thing. So we've got NHS vaccination teams in on the 7th and 8th of January. Find and Treat, who I think most of you will have worked with in the past, they'll be in on the 3rd of January with their big vans doing BBV, so bloodborne virus testing, TB testing, chest x-rays and liver scanning. We've got Hep C Trust coming in on the 2nd of January, also to do Hep C screening. And then the Bart's liver van will be coming in on the 7th and 8th of January to do liver screening. I've tried to put them in January a bit just to sort of keep the services offer going throughout the extension. Dental, we've got really good support this year. So we have Dentaid coming in on the 2nd of January in their big van. You can see the services they provide there, but they do fantastic. And even if it's a service, if a guest wants something they can't necessarily offer, they'll still be doing triaging and signposting and looping them into things. And they see so many guests. The amount of guests they can see in a day is just incredible. So definitely promote them if you can. And we also have King's College Hospital dental van in on the 9th and 16th of January. So it's 3 dental days this year, which is great. And a new one for this year, we've got an NHS breast screening promotion service coming in. It's a particular part of the NHS that basically works with any groups that they struggle to reach normally. So groups that wouldn't be coming to screening appointments, wouldn't be coming to follow-up appointments. So it's all about promoting there, and they can actually book guests there and then if it's one of the guests in sort of their groups they're targeting. So it's a really amazing service. We're really excited to have them on board. Next slide. Great. So guest welfare this year. So there's a list of the coordinators I've got on the system. So Lydia on a few morning shifts, and in afternoons we've got Victoria, Janet, Lou and Pat, not all on the same day, just scattered across the 2 weeks. What I would say is there's quite big gaps for guest welfare coordinators this year, and nearly all morning shifts are empty. I'll come on to that in a minute, but just for you to be aware of. So in the teams, we aim to recruit for 1 to 2 guest welfare coordinators per shift, and then 2 to 3 guest welfare volunteers. What I would say is if there isn't a coordinator on shift, please make sure there's someone that the guest welfare volunteers can go to. So either a key volunteer or a team leader. It doesn't mean that person is acting as a guest welfare coordinator that day. They're still doing their normal role, but it's really important that guest welfare volunteers know who to go to if they get involved in any tricky conversations or upsetting situations or need to escalate something. So at the end of the general shift briefing, just have someone sort of take the guest welfare to one side and say, if you've got any questions today, please come to me, because it might be it's their first shift and they might not have a coordinator, and we've had bad feedback about that in the past. So please try and support the guest welfare volunteers if there's no coordinator on shift. If you're expecting to see a coordinator that isn't on the screen, please get in touch with me as well, and I can look into that for you. And then just to mention, we have the Samaritans on quite a lot of days. So they'll be there from the 23rd of December till the 1st of January. There's 1 or 2 days we don't have cover, so I'm going to communicate that out to you. I'll get the full schedule off them this week. And it's for the first 6 hours of afternoon shift. So it's 3:15 till 9:15. But even days Samaritans aren't there, there'll be plenty of resources, so you can still be signposting to guests. Next slide. Great. And then welfare check process that I think most of you are aware of. This is the new process for this year. There's a really fantastic sort of process procedure document. I'd really encourage you to go away and read at some point. It's sort of finalising something a lot of the hotels were doing anyway. I think typically after 48 hours, we would be checking on guests if we hadn't seen them. But what the process is doing this time is sort of formalising it, and also it's built it into C logs, so it's a feature to help you with this. So essentially, all hotel guests must be seen every 48 hours. If they haven't been seen within 48 hours, it will flag them on C-Log as a guest that's due a welfare check and needs to be checked in on. The interactions on C-Log that are counting towards this, so that's what the system's using, and meal logs, so they need to be logged by the shift office, advice sessions, which will be logged by advice volunteers, and welfare logs and checks, which will be logged by guest welfare. So there's 3 different things that could be ticking things off so it doesn't set off the 48-hour timer, basically. That window might be less for any guests identified as needing more regular checks. So if at the point of referral we see a guest that seems a bit more vulnerable or seems they could benefit from more checks, there'll be a separate sort of flag on C-Log that basically says, please check this guest more regularly, maybe every 24 hours rather than 48. And also if a guest becomes upset during their time in the hotel, you can also update that at the time. So maybe if something's happened and that guest might need checking in on tomorrow rather than waiting 2 days, feel free to use that flag. Next slide. Bit more about how it works in practice. So every morning and afternoon shift office will run a sort of view on C-Log to see all the guests who have not been seen within the last 48 hours, as well as the guests who might be needing more regular welfare checks. They'll pass that list over to the guest welfare coordinator or team leader if there isn't a coordinator on shift, and they'll instruct the guest welfare team on which guests to do a welfare check. So they're sort of the priorities for the day, essentially. What guest welfare volunteers will do is look out for that guest in the communal areas, and if they can't see them, they'll be knocking on their door. If the guest is seen, fab, update the welfare log on C-Log, great. But if the guest cannot be found, that's when it will be escalated to the team leader. That will normally result in a room check just to sort of check on their welfare and well-being, and also make sure that they're still using their room. But as at Aldgate, as Johnny talked about, there's lots of caseworkers involved as well. So it's good at that point to speak to the caseworker first in case they're aware of something or not. It might be they have knowledge about where the guest is and we don't need to do that room check. Or it might be they're genuinely concerned and want to escalate themselves and check in on them. So the 48 hours and the normal checks by guest welfare still go ahead. Before the room check, we would speak to the caseworker just to involve them. I think that's it for me. I'll go to the next slide. Fab.
Hi,
And so I'm going to pass. Oh, sorry. Is someone? Oh, your hand up.
Yeah, I've got my hand up. Sorry. I'll put my camera on. Hang on. There we go. Sorry, this is like 5 slides back, but just to flag on meal times, we had to flex those last year because full breakfast is served on morning shift, and we're not there at 7. So could we just clarify with the hotel that they're okay doing? I know that I've got the nights guys on, Janet, but if we can do like cereal and whatever from 7 is fine because people are working and so on. But the full table service cooked breakfast is when morning shift are in, so sort of 8:30, 8:45, something like that.
Yeah, that's fine, Charlotte. I'll message them tomorrow and see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly the same as last year. It's the same chef, he'll know. So it's just making sure that we'll coordinate it. And I had another question. What was my other question? Oh, when you mentioned, because India message said that there's also no overall services coordinator, could we use a KV, which is absolutely fine. But you mentioned that services like ophthalmologists would be set up by the service coordinator. You mean their coordinator, not us?
Yeah, I mean the eye care service organizer that visits all the sites.
Great. So all we need to do is just show them where the
let them
is,
in.
and that's it. Cool. Okay, great.
No problem. Right, I'll hand over to India now for the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Hi. Just to let you know about Salon, we've got 3 Salon days, 23rd, 26th and 30th. Sorry. There will be up to 4 hairdressers a day. They can see up to 25 guests a day, so we can deliver a lot of haircuts. It's in the same room as the healthcare room, so it's going to need to be a little bit of a quick turnaround between healthcare screens and salon mirrors, just to make you aware of that. And yeah, if you're busy, please do get a general volunteer involved to help run the salon smoothly and manage waiting lists. Next slide, please. As I think the team leaders certainly know, we don't have overall activity organisers at Aldgate this year, but we do have lots of activities planned. So we will just need a little bit of support from KVs to just ensure that the volunteers or external partners kind of get just a little bit of support and get a briefing and things. So we've arranged some sports. I've booked out the Power League AstroTurf pitches in Shoreditch for 3 dates. Brilliant coaches from Arsenal in the community are going to come and deliver them. But again, it would be great if we could have a couple of general volunteers to accompany guests as well. And then, of course, we've got our big football tournament on the 28th. That will be at Arsenal Community Hub. And again, yeah, a couple of general volunteers who might enjoy that would be brilliant. All the transport and logistics for that have been arranged and can be found on Wikimus. Next slide, please. We also have a common room this year. This is a massive improvement on last year. So that will be a kind of basic chill out room. We're going to put a big TV in there. You're also going to get a PlayStation 4, couple of games, 4 controllers. We are in the process of working out a way for the controllers and the PlayStations to be a little bit less portable. So they will hopefully not go walkabout. Everything's been set up. The games have all been installed, and we are asking for them to be played in offline mode this year, just because of our IT providers have asked for that. I'm also setting up all of your streaming accounts as well, so you can kind of do lots of films and also have lots of sports on offer if you'd like. Just to kind of highlight, Sky Sports have 12 sports channels. There's always something to watch. So do kind of, look at what's on and screen stuff. We've also got big what's on boards made out, so you can kind of advertise like that you're showing matches and stuff. So I hope that will be a really nice communal space for guests. Next slide, please. And we also have a huge number of trips for Aldgate guests this year. So we've got big posters made. They'll be up in the hotel showing all of the trips for guests. There's a you can see the list for December, list for January. It's kind of a mix of sports and theatres and cultural things, and then nice fun activities, including go-karting. If you want any advice or help with kind of managing the sign-up process, then do get in touch with me. But otherwise, I'm kind of leaving it up to shift teams to manage that and ensure that there's only one source of truth with sign-up sheets. And again, all details for the trips is up on Wikimus. There's a separate page for each trip, which has all of the logistics, where we've got our volunteer transport teams, and where it was feasible, I've always tried to do volunteer transport for you. Where it's not feasible, we provide bus tickets and or Oyster cards. Next slide, please. And I'm going to pass over to Anna.
It's me. I get to talk about badges. Hi, everyone. These should all mostly be quite familiar to you, but we've got a couple of new ones and a couple of small changes. One is the Kitchen Volunteers badge has just changed colour, but that's not going to affect your lives because, as Jess was saying, your catering is covered by the lovely people at Aldgate, who we're not mad at. Other hotels, meh. One thing to draw your attention to is the new guest welfare badge. So that's the one with the hand and heart. That's designed to be worn in addition to the badge with the names on. That's just to help you identify them so you can find them quicker and faster. We've also got a new pronouns badge. So you'll be getting loads of these. They're optional and they're going to come with some directions and instructions kind of for people who are less familiar with them. So you can put that out where at the volunteer entrance where people would be getting their badges, but that's a new one. Otherwise, same. They should all be nice and similar to you. Oh no, I always forget. Activities organizer volunteers and guest welfare coordinator volunteers. They've got a red dot with the orange rim just to indicate that they're sort of organising whatever service that they're organising, just so then you know the difference between somebody who is laying out Jenga versus the person who is organising the trips and organising all of it. So that's to help show that. Could I have, yeah, my next glamorous slide. This one involves a picture of a car. Check me out. So this is roughly what your centre vehicle is going to look like. But the most important reason that I'm telling you this is because that is where your shift office pack will be. So on arrival, for those of you who are on the first shift in the afternoon on Sunday 22nd, you're going to want your radios, you're going to want badges, wristbands, petty cash, all the glamorous stuff that comes in the big old orange tea crates. That will be in this car. The keys are going to be left with the hotel reception. So your mission first up is locate the car, open the car, get these boxes out, because you're going to need to get cracking with all of that. Good news for you guys is you've got the shortest distance to go between your shift office and centre car, so it's going to be just around the back in the car park, and that will be there ahead of you. So we've got clothing. I mentioned on a previous briefing, but for those of you who aren't aware, we've changed up how we do clothing based on feedback. It was quite clear that volunteers were asking us to have a uniformed approach to this across the whole project. There's going to be loads and loads of information already on Wikimus. You're going to get printed versions too. You'll have a laptop to support actually delivering the clothing service. But one thing that we said that we'd tell you in this meeting is where we stand in terms of our overall stock. So it's about our overall stock across the entire project, not just what you're going to get in Aldgate. In Aldgate, in your own hotel, you're going to manage that yourselves. But what we want to let you know about is what it looks like across the entire project. So we've used what's known as a RAG rating, a red, amber, green rating. So anything that's in green, we've got loads of. So if you start running low in Aldgate and you're like, actually, can I please get some more women's coats? We've got quite a lot, so you can ask for more, and we're likely to be able to say, yep, that'll be with you tomorrow. More women's coats for you. Winner, winner. Also means you can give them out like crazy. We're not worried about it. Yellow is where we've got less stock, so you need to be a bit more careful because we're more thinly spread. And then red is where we've got things at a ratio that are either like 1-to-1 or maybe even fewer than that. So we said that if you have volunteers who are interested in bringing in clothes as a direct donation to the centre, we'd like you to ask them to just bring in the red ones, because that's where our need is. So that's our priority need. So for example, if you wanted to, you could share this round at your debrief. If you know that you've got volunteers who are going to be coming back for repeat shifts, then you can say, if you'd like to, we'd love to see some men's jumpers. So this is how our RAG rating looks at the moment, like our traffic light rating. So that's what it looks like now. Tracksuits, they are something that we just give out in hotels. They come separately, so then they'll be ready for you on the first night. Tracksuit, socks and underwear. But so the tracksuits we only really get in at a ratio of 1-to-1, so we're not super keen for people to bring in more tracksuits necessarily, but they are red because they're only resourced at 1-to-1. So if people have got tracksuits, then why not? I think that might be me. I don't think I've got anything else exciting to tell you guys. So I think I'm handing over to Maz.
Hi everyone. This is really just for people who are new to the hotel or haven't experienced it. We have a stricter front door policy at Aldgate Hotel just based off of the location, because we have Altab Ali Park right outside, and it is a bit of a hotbed of problems. So compared to the other hotels, we have automatic locks on the doors. So if anyone is coming into the hotel, the main point of entry is our front door. It will be closed, and only someone with a wristband or on the gate list or with a lanyard for their organization will be allowed in. Please try not to serve any tea or snacks to anyone outside who's hanging out in the park, because they might just try and mingle with our guests, and we don't want, it's for the safety of you guys, our hotel staff, and the guests as well. We don't want any intermingling between the people in the park and our hotel people. Next slide. Yeah, so I work really closely with Tower Hamlets Council and the Safer Neighborhood teams to ensure that we have safe delivery of our hotel. There have been issues in the past with the park, but I will say it has gotten better. There's no more tents, which is a plus. So we just need to be a bit cautious about monitoring any activity outside. Please don't get involved directly. If anything, do let security know directly, or give me a call and I can let the Tower Hamlets know. And worst case, 111 is always there. So yeah. Oh, it's me again. Laundry, more light and heightened. We still have laundry service this year, same as last year. It will be running exactly the same way. We just have a new updated laundry tracker. Just makes it easier for us to keep track of guests' clothes and bags to make sure nothing goes missing. You will get the dates for all the deliveries and the collections, so please share around with the guests on check-in day. The first collection is on the 23rd, so when guests do check in on the 22nd, let them know that if they have anything that they want to send for laundry, we have a facility that's going to come and get it tomorrow. Cool, I think that's me. Amanda, question?
Yeah,
yes.
me. Oh, there's a question.
Someone has a question?
Yeah, just regarding the laundry, I can't remember from however many slides ago it was where there was the list of key things to say to guests when they arrive, but if that's not on there, then as you quite rightly pointed out, then if we could get that added onto that list for us to have, because that's definitely something I will forget.
Okay, I will send a reminder and I'll put it in the try and put it in the list as well. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, Victoria.
Hi. For some reason I can't use the chat, so I've got two questions. What quiet space can we use if we want to have a private chat with a guest?
So you've got spaces on the landings of the hotels. We've kind of set them up as like safe space lounge areas. If you would like to have a chat with the guest, you can go there. Or if there's a room that's not being used by a service, please feel free to use that space as well. I know you are limited with space at Aldgate, so we'll try and do our best, try and work with what we can.
Okay. And the second question is, where are we going to put the clothing this year? Because we had quite a lot of issues last year. We didn't really have much space.
So this year we have an additional 4 bedrooms for services. So clothing has an entire bedroom basically for the service. And you can use the bathrooms in there as a changing room for the guests as well. So you have more space this year than last year. Linda.
Oh, that was a nice way of saying my name. Okay, are we going to give the guests, hopefully not, a printed, like a handbook that says the days of the laundry? Because last year it was a disaster because the days they were counting on it and they didn't often show up. Or are we going to give them a day-to-day notification?
So I have a flyer which I've put on Wikimus, and you can print them out as well if you like, or if you want me to print them out, I can also print them out and send them with your shift office stuff. And it has the dates of collections and deliveries as well, and you can post them around the hotel so guests.
Yeah, but the problem is we had that last year,
and it didn't work.
It wasn't reliable.
Okay, I
would much rather not give a guest that, just in case there's that potential for a disappointment. I'd rather just day to day, sort of when we know for sure they're coming or they're picking up, then we can put it on an activities, notification or whatever. I'm just so worried that they're going to get it in print. I've said this a million times before. We're promising them something that we can't guarantee they're going to.
For sure, if it does ease any stress about that, I can double confirm on each day if delivery and collection are coming, and I'll let the shift office know. I can't confirm for sure that 23rd will be the first collection.
Well, that's I mean, I'm just trying to avoid disappointment. I'm just trying to avoid making a promise that we can't keep. And as I say, it really did happen a lot last year, and it was in Docklands anyway. It was difficult.
Sure, I will make sure to keep track of it and keep shift office informed.
Thanks.
I've got so many questions. Everyone wants to talk to me. Hong.
Sorry, this isn't actually for you, I don't think. Wikimus says we're closing on the 20th of January.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah. Just thought I'd mention it to someone.
Okay, we'll edit now.
Could you be more specific about where it says that, please, Hong? So we can seek and destroy.
What's on? What's on? It says Monday 20th, checkout close down.
Thank you. We can seek and destroy that.
Cool. Kevin?
Just a quick one. We always run out of bags, and it makes it quite difficult, particularly if we want to give someone just like trainers discreetly. Are there bags this year that or do we just get guests to bring them in? Sorry, volunteers to bring them in.
Bags as in backpack type bags?
No, no, just bags to put the clothing in, really. And particularly if it's something that is perhaps where we haven't got many of.
I can. That's a clothing question. I can take that. We have got some bags supplied for clothing, but unfortunately, we only got donated limited stock, so it's not enough for every time somebody visits clothing. If you want to ask people, we're saying like typically we think that people have quite a few tote bags kicking around. So if you wanted to add that to the rag list rating, then we'd encourage those. We'd like them to go to clothing. That'd be super helpful. We have got some. But like I said, not enough for every time somebody comes to clothing for them to go away with it. But when it's like trainers and things like that you want to hide, that's a great use of them.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Thanks, Anna.
Emily?
Yeah, last year with the laundry, sorry, I've got barely any voice. Last year with the laundry, the shift office coordinators had to book on the day. So if it said that there was going to be laundry on the 24th, we had to put in a booking for a time on that day. Is that still going to be the case? Because I think that
Yeah.
was part of the reason why sometimes the laundry didn't come.
Yeah, it's still the same case. I have a master doc, which I'll share with you guys. So it will give you clear things of what times not to book them because they won't be able to come and collect at those times as well. So it's a lot more clear this year. We worked really hard with with the partners this year, so it's trying to be as like bulletproof as we can.
The other problem with the laundry was that we didn't have enough bags. I think particularly at Docklands, as you were saying, we didn't. There was like a limit each day. So I think, yeah, that is the problem with advertising that if we can only take so many on a day.
Yeah. So
that
you
bu-
can only do 30 washes a collection day. So if you guys are doing a sign up list or something like that for guests for their laundry, and they miss it, obviously you can let them know that that's the next day of collection is going to be there. Because they have only sent us a limited amount of bags. Do try and get the bags back from the guests as well, because we kind of have to reuse them. Yeah. Is that okay? Cool. Alison? You're mute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. I asked a question in the chat about the frequency of the laundry service, and the just a query on the answer, which was 1 sec, it's moved. You have to ask the laundry service to turn up. They don't come unless you ask them to. I'm a new coordinator this year, and so I just don't know. So I've got 4 different shifts. They're not consecutive shifts. So what would be my responsibility if it was necessary to ask for the laundry service to come? Is there a kind of a suggested once a week or every couple of days, or?
So I have the full list of all the dates that they can do collections.
Yeah.
It's on the Wikimiss, and it will also be in the shift office, so you guys know what the dates are. So those are the dates that you'd have to put in a laundry collection order, if that makes sense.
Sorry if I'm being a bit obtuse.
No.
Criteria for deciding that a laundry service is required on a particular day?
So it's pre-organized by the laundrettes. Those are the dates that they have available for collections and deliveries. So if, say you have 5, 6 guests who would like their laundry collected on the 23rd, that morning you'd book in a slot, or the night before, depending if you have enough people. You can book it in. There's a whole walkthrough. There's a video as well to help you book it in. So it's quite straightforward, really easy with your login you have your login details and the passwords as well on Wikimiss. So it's really straightforward. And then they'll come in and collect, and within 48 hours they will deliver back to the hotel, dropped off at the same point, picked up at the same point.
So in other words, in sort of determining to initiate a sort of a laundry service, you'd need to kind of know from the guests who it requires it.
Yes, exactly. It's based on need. If you have days where there is collections available and no guest wants to do laundry, you don't have to put in an order. It's fine.
Yeah, and would you kind of get that information from the sort of volunteers?
Yes.
They'd tell you. Brilliant. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Any more? Or can we go to Amanda? Okay, I think we're good. Amanda?
Okay, what I'm really hoping is that you've all read this slide while it's been sitting here. It's just to say your briefing checklist templates will be on Teams. There will also be some laminated copies in your shift office packs. We no longer require you to sign them off every day. You can just use the same one multiple times. Please try and remember to invite someone from the security team along to any handovers or briefings. They're outside, they know what's going on, they know what everybody's up to, so they're invaluable source of info to you. Don't forget to debrief at the end of your shift. This is a shameless plug for me. Please let volunteers know that we are running till the 21st of January. We do have spaces on all shifts from about the 31st of December onwards at the moment. So Once they've warmed up, let's get them along to do some more. That'd be brilliant. Finally, from me, before we break out, look after yourselves, look after each other. Next slide has the details of our volunteer assistance program. You can ring them 24 hours a day or text them or WhatsApp them. That's available to any volunteer. So if you've got a volunteer who's had a hard day and they might want a number to take away after their shift, please give that out. I'm also available, but not 24/7. So these people are great. Do use them. And I think that concludes the meeting. Are there any further questions before we let you break out? Janet. Hello.
Sorry, trying to unmute. I think we're off into breakout rooms into our specific shift teams. But was just wondering if it would be possible for the people who have the first afternoon, the green badges doing first afternoon shift, to stay on in this link for a little bit, so we can coordinate night shift, afternoon shift handover, and where things are going to go.
Did everybody who that relates to hear that? That's fine by me. I don't have a problem. Any more questions?
Yes, I've got a question.
Oh, sorry, Alison.
Yes, I said no problem. I think it was said that a link, you're not using breakout rooms on this call. Instead, we've been given a phone link. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, I don't think I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you mornings, afternoons, or nights, Alison?
I'm mornings. But, you know,
Okay.
8 o'clock start.
Okay, Tammy, are you still here? Can you ping Alison a quick copy of the link?
Yes, I will do.
Oh,
Doing that
thank you.
now.
Super. So first afternoon and first night shift, green badges stay here. Everyone else, go forth into your breakout rooms.
Well, I think Dan has a question.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick
I
question.
can't see
Can you tell me
everybody,
where are
sorry.
the policies? Because they've just disappeared off Wiki.
On WikiMiss?
Oh, I had a problem with the policies yesterday. All the links were broken yesterday.
If you go to policies.crisis.christmas.
I'll show you my screen.
Then it's there. Policies.crisis.christmas. And they're all there. They're working.
It wasn't there yesterday, so hopefully it's back.
What? It's for me.
Is that working, Dan?
Is it going to go back on Wikimass or not? That's the only place we can find it.
I'm looking at it right now. Policies.crisis.christmas. Do you want me to present my screen?
I'm going to pop a link. I'll
I
pop a
believe you. I
link
just
in the
can't see
chat.
it here. When I click on Wikimass, it's not there. Anyway.
Policies.crisis.christmas. And then you click here and you get them all. No login required, just there.
So it's actually, you have to type in.
I've just dropped it in the
URL.
chat for you.